Okay, well, thank you all for coming out this evening, this late afternoon for this workshop. This is our third, I believe, Lex Advanced workshop, and I know at least a few of you have been to all of them so far, which is great. And we do want to remind folks, again, part of the Lex Advanced, if you want to, we're offering 6 of these over the course of the semester, and if you attend 4 of them, you'll receive our Lex Advanced certificate afterwards. So keep up the good work with that. But today we're really focusing on, it's almost kind of a second part in some ways to the workshop from a couple weeks ago about release conditions, and you'll see the connection there in a little bit. But we're still dealing with some of the ideas of automation that we're able to take advantage of and use in Brightspace, which I think is one big step that we really didn't have as we were working with Blackboard, a few years ago. And so I think this is some really kind of interesting and useful stuff. And so I hope you all learned something, and like I said, by the end, move yourselves up to that expert level. As always, as Janice likes to remind us, if you are on Twitter, feel free to join the conversation and share your thoughts about this workshop. And make sure you tag us at ZulaCat and put in the hashtag EdTech if you're doing that. All right, so it looked like we had a range of familiarity and comfort level with intelligent agents in Brightspace. So just for the sake of everybody to really kind of understand what we're talking about here, because it took me a while when we first got it and started kind of learning about some of these tools to really kind of get a sense of what's the difference between these release conditions and these intelligent agents. And intelligent agents are really a very specific tool within Brightspace, right? And it's really a way to automate emails, right? And to send a certain pre-formatted template email to designated people as the result of either on a timely basis or as the result of certain criteria being met. Right? But what we're really going to focus on here today is using these intelligent agents as a way to help your students stay on track. This is an important idea always for teaching. We've talked about it before, but I think as all of us have seen and experienced over the last 6 months, this is probably even more critical right now as our students are struggling to adapt and deal with all these different modes of learning, right? Last spring, it was all remote. Now this semester, in some ways it's better. In some ways, I think it's maybe even more confusing, right? Because some of their classes are fully remote, some of their classes are mixed mode, some of their classes are in person, right? We're kind of all over the place, and so it's even harder, I think, for some students to really kind of always kind of be attentive. And I think a lot of us are starting to see that with students kind of missing deadlines, slipping by, overlooking things. So intelligent agents are one way that you can help span some of those gaps. One of the really useful ways of using intelligent agents is to create a better connection between the instructor and the learner. You can see some examples of how it can be used, and we'll talk about some of the ways this could be set up. For a long time now, CAT's been encouraging faculty to think about sending a welcome email to their students, right? And intelligent agents can be set up to send that email to students either as soon as they're enrolled in the class, or say 24 hours before the first class, or as soon as they log into Brightspace. You can set up all sorts of different criteria for it, but you can just send a welcome message, right? And there's research out there that says that goes a long way. Just that kind of informal welcome to class kind of message can go a long way to just kind of help students feel a little more comfortable with class, right? And one thing we'll really talk about today is this idea of re-engaging inactive learners, which again, I think a lot of us are experiencing at a much higher degree this semester with some of our students. As well as inviting low-performing students to meet with us, right? Providing encouragement, right? Or just congratulating on a job well done. So it doesn't always have to be the negative, right? It doesn't always have to be in response to bad test scores. It's also great to reach out to students as a result of good performance as well. So we asked you to take a look at a couple of short articles that talked a little bit about this idea of the nudge, right? Of how students can benefit from these small personal contacts, right? Whether it's just a quick little email or something else, right? This has been around for a long time, right? But now, you know, we have the ability to automate a lot of that as well. Right? And I don't think it takes away from the benefit of it by automating it. I think in some ways it might make it even more effective and meaningful in some ways. But this was an article I was taking, a much longer article I was taking a look at, and I thought just I would summarize it just a little bit. This is just from last year, so it's obviously pre-pandemic. I'm sure we're going to have a slew of articles and research taking a look at how this stuff worked and changed as, you know, during and hopefully after all of this as well, right? But this was published last year in October, right? And you can see the basic setup, right? During the fourth week of class, students received an email from their instructor if they either were below 70% on a specific threshold for the class, right? So part of their grade was below 70%, right? Or if their attendance was below 75%, right, for the semester. So far, and again, this was only 4 weeks into the semester. Right? But if they met either of those benchmarks, they got a personalized email from the instructor that just said, hey, it looks like you're having some trouble, right? And you know, you might want to reach out to their Student Success Center, their version of Say So, right? And the results of that were, and this is a small little benchmark, but it demonstrates, I think, some significant impact by the action, right? Is that on the final exam, right, on a common question that all the students had, right, they showed improvement of 6.5 to 7.5 percentage points on that one question, right? So one email that went to these students had a pretty significant impact that was directly measured, right? And obviously the assumption is that there were probably greater impacts as well, right? And so that's really kind of what we want to kind of stress here today is that one small email, right? Even an automated email. And we're going to show you how you can set them up so that it would go to these students without you having to constantly watch for them, can have a big impact on student performance in your class. So let me show you a couple of examples of how I'm using them this semester. I'm going to show you kind of the end results, what the students got, right? And then I'll step back and kind of show you what it looks like inside of Brightspace before we kind of hand it over to you all to think about these a little bit. But I'm teaching XCore 1000 this semester, and as all of you probably know, right? That's the kind of class where students can very easily kind of slip through the cracks. On top of that, it's you know, mixed mode kind of class, right? On top of that, I've got 70 students in 2 sections, right? So I've got a lot of students I'm trying to keep track of, right? But I set up a couple of benchmarks, right? One was that a couple of weeks ago, right, if the student's grade was below a C, their overall course grade was below a C, I set up this thing so that every other Monday, every 2 weeks, this email would go out to the students, and it just said this, right? It says your course grade's below a C, right? At this point in the semester, I can kind of guess what it's about, right? And here's what you can do to address that, right? Because plenty of students have already sort of assumed that they're just going to not do well in the class. They can't make up this stuff, right? But I reached out to them. The first time this went out, it went out to only about 13 students, right? And I heard from 9 of them within 24 hours of this email going out, right? And they all reached out to me and said, "Thank you for this. You know what? Okay, so what do I need to do to do this?" Right? So that was a real beneficial. 3 of those students are not actually registered for my class, right? They're not actually even on campus. I don't know why they're still in Brightspace, but I've managed to track that part down as well. So Another one I did was just class engagement, right? And this one, again, is a different kind of automation, but it keeps track of how often the students are logging into my class, going into my class in Brightspace, right? And it's taking a look every Friday, and it says, hey, this student hasn't logged in over a week, and it sends them an email and asks them what's going on. This is how I really figured out that I had these 3 students that actually weren't even here on campus anymore. So, but again, it's another way to kind of keep track of them, right? And it's all automated, right? I can keep an eye on this, right? I can check it, right? But I don't have to go through and look at each individual student to see when they logged in last.
Hey Jay, I don't know who you asked to serve as the voice of the chat. I was a moment late, so pardon me if I'm out of line. But you had a question in the chat.
Sure.
And that's was this course you're talking about an asynchronous course?
No, this is XCore, right? So this is it's mixed mode now, right? Because I was in quarantine for a couple of weeks, and then I've already had plenty of students who haven't been able to come to class. So mostly we meet in person, but we've got students who are also joining online. So it was originally fully in person.
So, but it meets every week, once a week, and in this mixed mode. Yep. It's once a week, about once a week.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
All right, so I'm going to show you real quickly kind of what this looks like on the background, and then we're going to hand it over to you all to do a little bit of work, right? But these are a couple of the, this is what, my intelligent agents look like, right? I know in Janice's instructions, she's going to tell you to give them a title as well as a good descriptive kind of summary so you can remember these things. And I didn't follow her advice. But I just kind of had these kind of weird descriptive titles in them as well, right? Get in there real quickly just so you can kind of see. One nice thing about the intelligent agents is they're not that complicated to set up. This is not like setting up a quiz, right, where you've got multiple pages that you need to kind of be thinking about. There's only one screen. There's only a handful of settings, right, as well. And you can see what it really builds on is the release conditions that many of you kind of learned a little bit about, or some of you may already be familiar with in Brightspace, right? So I set up this, and I said if their course grade drops below 70%, right? And I set it up on a schedule to run every other Monday, right? So if their course grade is at less than 70% every other Monday, this email goes out to them. Right? And here is the template that I did, right? You're able to take advantage of the replacement strings in Brightspace to personalize it as well, right? I could even have an attachment on there if I wanted to, or something like that, right? I could copy myself. I decided not to do that because I didn't want a whole bunch of these emails coming to me. But that's another option you could do. You could CC yourself on this just so that you're aware of who's getting these emails. And
Jay, excuse me, Jay, can you tell them how you got to the intelligent agent? That's
oh yeah, I'm sorry. I jumped right in there.
You jumped right on in.
So in course administration, right? And again, course administration you can either have by category or by name, right? But there is a separate page just for intelligent agents. And then you can create a new intelligent agent, right, and set it up. And one nice thing, and Janice is going to talk about why this is important, and I think she's even got a couple of examples why you really want to be careful with this. With intelligent agents, you can do what's called a practice run. And so it'll go through the process of figuring out how many students this email would go to, and it'll even give you that list right here, but it won't actually send the emails, right? So if you're kind of setting things up and you're not quite sure you got it set up properly, or you don't want, you don't want it to go to the whole class accidentally, you can kind of do a practice run and make sure that it's restricted, right? But I can come in here on a Monday morning, right, and I can take a look and I click on this link, right? I'm not going to do it because it'll show their names, but I can see who these emails are going to, right? And again, I don't have to track it down. I don't have to dig through Brightspace to look up all that information now.
Jay, would you also click on settings there so they can see?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, that they need to go in there. Well, you should, you can, right. So if you set the custom values, you can have the email come from you as the reply to.
Yeah, something else I need to do.
But the thing is, you have to do it per course.
Okay, see, that's what happened there. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, just give you one more example real quickly here. So this is another one. This is a little more complicated one that I set up for my class, my grammar class, right? I know after having taught that class now for, I think, over 12 years or so, there are certain kind of bottleneck points in the semester, right? I know that the students can do pretty well for the first few weeks of the semester and do okay in that first test, and then they come back, and if they don't do well on the next chapter, they're going to struggle for a good long while, right? So I set up this one. It's a little, it's not perfect, right? But I basically said if they were doing okay on the first, the last two modules of the first unit, and then they came in for what I call module 4, which is the first module of the second part of the class, and they didn't do too well, right? I sent them this email, and it just said, it looks like you're having a little more trouble than you were having the last few weeks. Just let me know if you were having trouble with the material, or is it just a bad week for you, or whatever. Right? And again, I got almost instant responses from students saying, thanks, I was just kind of struggling with some of the concepts. I'm spending a little more time with it. And then I could say, great, let me know if you have any questions, right? Or the student wrote back and said, I'm sorry, I had a midterm to take care of for my other class, and I just didn't put enough time into this, right? But again, it caught those students for me, and it reached out to them, and then they reached it back out to me. And that's obviously, what we're talking about here. So that's a real quick overview of how you can use intelligent agents, right? What we'd like you to do now is spend some time thinking about how you might use intelligent agents, right? Because there's a lot of useful things to it, but the really nice thing about it is you can customize them for your classes, right? Like I was just showing you for grammar. If you know the class well, you know those kind of choke points for the students, right? And so you can think about what is it? Is it if they do bad on the first test, right? Or is it if they do bad on the second? Whatever the problems are, you're familiar with those. And so we want you to think a little bit about how you might set that up in one of your classes. So we're going to go ahead and put you into breakout rooms for a few minutes here. But instead of doing it the usual way we do it, we're going to ask you to do something else. And I'm going to go ahead and put this link, or if Elizabeth, if you could type that link to the chat box down at the bottom there. We're going to ask you to use what's called Jamboard, which is Google's collaborative whiteboard. Right? And I set up a page, one page in Jamboard for each of the breakout rooms we're going to have. And we want you in the breakout rooms to play with Jamboard, right? Put some ideas down there the same way you would as if you were in a regular workshop and you were writing on one of our nice little whiteboards that are not getting used at all these days. And then we'll come back as a group, and instead of just directly talking about it, we'll actually be able to even take a look at it as well. And I think I need to go ahead and set up the breakout rooms too. I'm going to minimize my screen here. So did we get that link?
Yes, I put the instructions.
Okay.
I put the instructions in there with the link. Yeah.
Thanks, Janice.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set up 6 breakout rooms. Right. Looks like we will have 3 or 4 people in each one. Right. So everybody can go to that link. Like I said, it's a collaborative whiteboard, which is really nice. And you can all put ideas there and go to the page. You'll see the pages. There's one page that says breakout room number 1, breakout room number 2, breakout room number 3. Right? And go ahead and use those. Right? And we'll take about 5 minutes to jot down some ideas and talk to each other. And then when we come back, again, the person with the birthday furthest from today will be the spokesperson who will kind of show us what the group was talking about. All right? I think we got most everybody back. Let me see. All right. So sorry about the confusion at the beginning. I always forget that Google, does view only to begin with. So my students always complain about it too. I think we've got a few minutes to hear from a few of the groups, kind of what were some of the ideas. I was taking a look. The nice thing about Jamboard is if you put students into the breakout rooms, you can watch what they're doing without kind of doing that slightly creepy spying on them of dropping into the breakout rooms. And so that's one reason I really like it, right? Because I can see that they're working. I can see that they're working on what I asked them to work on, but I don't have to sit there and kind of listen to their conversation.
So you saw us try to figure out how to use all the tools before we started doing anything.
Yeah, you can just sit, because again, it's Google Collaborative, so I can see everything. Everybody can see everything that's going on as everybody else works on it. So what were a couple of the kind of interesting ideas that folks were coming up with in terms of what's a benchmark, what's a kind of bottleneck that you want to keep an eye out for with your students that intelligent agents might help you with?
I don't know if we had really anything, sort of innovative like that. It was more just everyday use, just, missing assignments, especially, first year courses, just a missing assignment. Sometimes students get inundated and they just forget. So how handy would it be? Because I do it myself, but, having to go through 76 names and then figure out each one. So just sending out a more personalized one, well, not really personalized, but it's got their name on it, a day or two after it was due, I think would be helpful. And then Sierra suggested that, you could use the intelligence agents early on in the course to make sure students are sort of, visiting all the sections of Brightspace, have they seen the syllabus and all that, and they can get automatic responses if they're not doing that. And then, of course, the standard one you mentioned, Jay, just not logging in for a week is a real sign that, boy, it's time to reach out to them. So those were the three that we talked about mainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Saw some other great ones to think up here.
I can build on that.
Yeah, Danielle, go ahead.
Yeah, in our breakout room, we talked about several of the same ideas. For biology, it was looking at that first exam grade as a potential benchmark. Also for the 1,000 level courses, ensuring that students are turning in those first assessments. And then Stacy brought up very much like in Steve's group, taking a look at all of the different assignments or materials that our students are accessing, like notes and answer packets before exams as a determinant of success.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, and I think curious to see what Janice would have to say. And I know that you can kind of keep track of what students have looked at, with the release conditions, which you can then use to kind of build the intelligent agents. It's a little tricky because as long as they click on the link in Brightspace, it kind of says, okay, they looked at it. But it would still be kind of I don't think you can actually say, okay, did they download it? I don't think Brightspace is going to keep track of that. Is that about right, Janice? Like if you had a PDF up there?
Yeah, that's correct. You wouldn't be able to tell that they downloaded. You would be able to tell they clicked on the link, which indicates they visited it. And I put a link in the chat to the workshop recording for release conditions for those who might not have attended. But you can, when you're setting up your content, the topics in your content modules, to have the topics be automatic, indicated that when the student clicks on it that it's automatically recorded as being visited, or you can set it up that it's manual so that they would have to click a checkbox that said, I have reviewed this. So you have those options as well. But if they clicked on it or even checked the box that doesn't really say that they read it, it just says, yeah, I clicked on it.
Great. All right, I think in the sake of time, I'm going to hand things back over to Janice now, as we kind of start talking about some of the more kinds of ins and outs of thinking about intelligent agents. And I think she's got a little assessment for you as well.
All right, let's see. I want to do a share screen. All right, I think you all can see my browser window.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, great. But I wanted to point out in the, when you're setting up an intelligent agent, I'm just going to do new here. I don't have any agents in here. But as you're setting these up, you'll notice that there's some links with some information that would help you. So if you're not sure about what the repetition is about, you can click on this link to get additional help. If you want to send an email, notice if you are trying to use replace strings, this link here will tell you specifically which replace strings work in the intelligent agent. And what I would suggest is you just copy and paste them from this information that's here. Also get some information about what special email addresses you can use as well. All right, any questions? Okay, so what I want to do.
Nope, looking good.
All right. We've given you some information, and one of the links that I did also include in the chat was a link to a blog post that talks about intelligent agents, and it has some links to some other resources that would help you set them up. When we first started, you all indicated your comfort level with intelligent agents. And I'd like you to go ahead and use your annotation tool, or use the annotation tool again, and then indicate on this thermometer your level of comfort. Now that you've seen some information and talked a little bit about it, what is your level of comfort with using intelligent agents? Do you think hopefully it's increased, or it's about the same? If it's decreased, then I think we're in a little bit of trouble. And if you came in late and you don't know how to get to the annotation tools, at the top of the Zoom window, you should see something that says Janice is sharing her screen or something like that. And then there's a view options. And so if you click on the view options, you'll see where the annotation tools are. All right, and from what I'm seeing here, it looks like the indicators as to your comfort level has actually risen. We had some folks who are down here toward the bottom. And all right. Okay. Now that we've done that, so what I'm going to do now is give you some additional information to help you increase that comfort level. Okay. All right. Elizabeth, are you starting to say something? You're muted. Okay. All right, great. All right. Let me clear. Or maybe not. Clear all drawings. Okay. All right. So I have some effective practices as well as some potential pitfalls for you. And so effective practice number 1, when you're setting up an intelligent agent, think about who you want to send that email to. Do you just want the email to go to the student? Do you need the email to go just to you? Or are you wanting the email to go to both of you? Or there's some other interested parties that might need to see that email? So just think carefully when you're setting these up. Who needs to get that email? And then if you're getting that email, have an action plan. So you get that email notification, and then what is it you want to do? So know ahead of time, I'm setting up this intelligent agent. It's going to send me a notification, and this is what I'm going to do. Effective practice number 3. Sending a lot of email or receiving a lot of email is going to lose its effectiveness. So when you're considering an intelligent agent, think about, is there a better way of communicating? Would an announcement work better, for example? So remember, with release conditions, you can attach release conditions to an announcement, for example. So anybody that meets that particular criteria, you can release an announcement in the course for them. Would a personally crafted email from you work better? Would perhaps using the discussion board of posting something there, would that work better? So just think about, what I'm trying to set up, is an intelligent agent the best way to go? And then when you're setting these up, also consider whether or not you want that intelligent agent to automatically run, or do you want to manually run it when you're ready? There may be situations where you do just want to run it manually, or maybe all of your intelligent agents you want to run automatically. But just think about, what do I want? Do I want it to run automatically, or do I want it to run manually? And here, effective practice number 5, if you are very descriptive in the name of the agent as well as the description, this will help you. So let's say before the semester has started, you're set up these intelligent agents, and then as the semester goes on, you want to go into the course and actually look at it. If you provide a lot of detailed information about it, this would help you identify what that agent is and what it's going to do. Who is it sending the email to? What is that work schedule? This also is helpful if you copy this. So let's say, for example, I set up this fall 2020 course. I have intelligent agents in it. And then in fall 2021, I'm copying this course over. If I've got this information in the description where I'm very detailed about what this agent is doing, this is going to save you some time as you're trying to get this all set up. If you think that your intelligent agent is going to be sending you a lot of email, then you may want to create a filter in your email inbox to manage that incoming email. There's no need to get a whole lot of emails that are clogging your inbox. Like I said, you can consider setting up some filters so that you can manage that email. Effective practice number 7. The larger the class size, the greater value automatic messaging is going to be for you. So if you have a smaller class, perhaps sending automatic messages might not be as valuable. But if you have a larger class, definitely trying to set this up would help you. Effective practice number 8. You can simplify your workflow by copying existing intelligent agents to make other ones. So rather than starting from scratch, if you have an intelligent agent that's very similar to another one that you want to set up, just go ahead and make a copy of it and then edit from there. And effective practice number 9, definitely utilize that practice run. Like Jay mentioned, if you do the practice run, you'll actually see who the system is identifying to receive those emails. And so you can verify that everything that you've set up is working as you want before you actually either do the automatic run or manually run the agent. Our first potential pitfall, as I mentioned with the replace strings, you definitely want to make sure that you have those formatted correctly. And if you utilize those links as you're setting up the intelligent agents that give you the information as to what a replace string will work, because the replace strings that you might use when you're setting up an announcement are not the same as the ones that will work inside of an intelligent agent. So like I said, make sure that you're using the correct replace string. Potential pitfall number 2. When you copy intelligent agents from one course to another, the system is automatically going to set it to inactive, which is good. Just remember, you'll have to go in and enable the intelligent agent and then update the run schedule. Potential pitfall number 3. Intelligent agents are not included when exporting a course. Now, exporting a course is different from copying a course. You can copy a course in our Brightspace system from one to another, and those intelligent agents will copy over. If you have a need to export, in other words, take the course outside of our Brightspace system because you're intending to copy it into maybe another, you're at another, teaching a class at another institution that uses Brightspace, then that intelligent agent is not going to be included with an export. And potential pitfall number 4, and this is about those settings. So each course, you'd have to go into the settings, and then you can include the reply to and put your information there. That way, if the student receives the email, they will be able to reply to you. So make sure you do those. All right. And I want to point out, well, hopefully everybody that's attending this workshop is subscribed to the Cat Food blog. If you're not, I suggest that you do so. You'll find the subscribe button at the top of the page. And you notice the last blog post here, last tip is related to our continuous delivery update. So once a month, our system is updated on the 4th Thursday in each month. And so what we presented to you today is how the system is set up today. But next month or the month after, we might get some changes or enhancements or whatever to the intelligent agents or whatever. So if you're not subscribed, this would be a good reason to subscribe. Then all you do is you'll get the little email when there's a new tip or some new information in the blog post, and it will give you some advance notice as to what happened or what changes were made. All right.
And I put the link in the chat. You could click on that right now, and then it will take you to this page. You can just click on subscribe.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right. And so as we try to wrap this up, what I'd like you to do is in the chat, if you can type your number 1 takeaway from today in the chat. And as those come in, Elizabeth, if you can read them all. Where's my tool? Okay.
Want me to kind of talk about them? Or, okay.
Right. Yeah.
So I was typing as I was doing that it can help me make sure students don't fall through the cracks. That's my big thing. Catch students before they fall through the cracks. But we're getting some Jamboards, how to use Jamboards. People liked learning that tool, so I'm glad we modeled that. The annotation, so another tool, use of a tool within the workshop. Wendy says there's a lot of pitfalls, so I've got to take your time using them and setting them up. More annotations in Zoom, that this can contribute to better student performance, so linking it to better performance. Just an overall familiarity with it, never really explored them before. Using this to work smarter so that we're not having to send these emails out, but they can do it for us. Using it sparingly for important messages. This could save a lot of time, especially if people have more than 100 students. Oh my goodness, yes, it could save time. being very descriptive and naming the intelligent agent automation, being familiar with it, getting students to stay up to date and do their best. So again, enhancing student performance. Jamboard is great. I can test the intelligent agent before making it active, so liking the idea about the tip about testing it. And then helping students remember, because of virtual learning, there's so many online deadlines. So kind of, again, I think that comes back to not letting them fall through the cracks or get behind. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Yes. Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
And so
I
as
would make just I was just going to make a big push for using the practice runs. Because again, you don't want these emails to go out until you're sure they're going out the right way. And we've got a few examples of folks kind of setting them up, and then a lot of emails start going out to their students that shouldn't be going out to their students. So the practice run's a really nice feature you want to kind of pay close attention to, just to make sure it's working the way you want it to work.
Great. Yes, definitely. All right. Any more questions as we try to wrap this up?
I had one. Did you say that the replace strings are different for this than other things?
That's correct. So when you are setting up the intelligent agent, there's a link in there. If you click on it, it will tell you exactly which replace strings work inside that intelligent agent. And those are the ones that you would use. All right. And we do value your opinion. So expect in the next day or so a workshop evaluation. That'll be sent to you by email. And your participation in today's workshop earns you the Intelligent Agents badge, which is in our Learn Everywhere Zula course. And so within 24 hours, you should see this badge. So congratulations, and I do have some confetti for you. All right. And I'll stop my sharing. We'll continue the question and answer if you have any.
You're getting a bunch of thank yous in the chat.
Okay. You're welcome.